Hello everyone, today I will be presenting my public issue topic in Capstone Presentation. So to begin, the World Health Organization labeled vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 threats to public health, according to Geohagen et al., copyright 2020. Vaccine hesitancy has become a growing problem in our society, and it is causing preventable deaths all around the world. According to MacDonald, copyright 2015, vaccine hesitancy is determined by a number of factors, such as complacency, convenience, and confidence. One study found that there was over 270,000 tweets on Twitter that contained anti-vaccination beliefs from 2009 to 2015, according to Tomney et al., copyright 2017. In current times, one can easily find a person who is unwilling to get a vaccine due to personal, political, or media impersonations of the COVID vaccine. In time, distrust in vaccinations can cause additional problems when it comes to public health and the healthcare system in general. Vaccination hesitancy is defined as the lack of getting one vaccinated from a disease. Vaccine hesitancy has to do with the refusal or disbelief in a vaccine. So to further expand on this, I wanted to see why so few people are choosing to get the COVID vaccine. According to Elterman, copyright 2021, the reasons for people hesitancy towards vaccines is based on these factors: distrust in vaccines, the vaccine timeline, effectiveness, side effects, and lack of concern. To expand on each, some people are choosing to not get the vaccine because they do not trust them. This means that they have either been misled or believe that the COVID vaccine or vaccines in general are not to be trusted. There are two different tactics that I would like to implement if I was in charge to help improve vaccination rates. The first would be developing legislation that pays people to get vaccinated. And the second would be developing legislation to remove false information about vaccines from the internet and social media. While some of these ideas may seem like a radical approach, I feel like anything that is a threat to national health demands a radical approach. Either way you look at it, vaccine hesitancy and distrust is a large cause of preventable diseases. There are many different tactics that can be implemented to help improve the problem, but I feel that my solutions are the most radical and therefore the best. I hope that people understand just how badly something such as not getting vaccinated or distrusting medicine can affect the health of people all around the world. So with that in mind, I feel as though the experiences I gain in my public issue research presentation and my various experiences at Nebraska Methodist College have enhanced my skills as an educated citizen. So to transition to my educated citizen section, I'd like to begin with my effective communicator example 1. According to the Nebraska Methodist College core curriculum, an effective communicator uses critical thinking to generate, connect, and organize ideas in a written, oral, and nonverbal manner. In the medical field, critical thinking is an essential trait to provide patients with the best possible care. In the radiology department in particular, every patient situation can present several challenging conditions that require critical thinking to properly and effectively complete an exam. This situation involved a 76-year-old female who fell on the ground while walking her dog. This patient was a very challenging patient as she was in excruciating pain, and she was in a challenging position for me to obtain x-rays. So it was important, and I used various critical thinking skills to help obtain these x-rays. And I learned how to deal with a situation that is challenging, but also helps you develop skills to become a better tech. So essentially, to tie this back to the citizen, the effective communicator, I found that working with these patients is just like working with people who are maybe against getting vaccines or hesitant to get a vaccine. And it just simply takes patience, good communication, and understanding to help educate them on vaccines and medicine in general. Next, I'd like to talk about my second example from my effective communicator section. So essentially, I started my clinical experience at Nebraska Methodist College in radiology. And I learned a great deal of experience from these rotations, and they ranged from from dealing with patients with education barriers or even communication barriers. On one occasion, I was performing an exam on a patient who didn't speak any English at all. I was unable to find a translator, and the online translator is actually out of commission. So I used my critical thinking skills and the little Spanish knowledge I gained from my Spanish class at Methodist College to help engage with this patient and get them through the exam. I ended up also using a translator on my phone, which I found to be particularly helpful. Probably the best part of this experience was when I concluded the exam, the patient was very excited to see how I used my various skills and my little Spanish knowledge to help her get through the exam. And I think she just understood that I was trying my best in that situation. To tie this experience back to my original topic, I found that teaching others with dignity and kindness and learning that people may see vaccinations in different lights helps me to understand part of the reason why vaccine hesitancy exists and how it can improve their understanding of vaccines. My next section is about the reflective individual. According to Nebraska Methodist College's core curriculum, a reflective individual routinely engages in habits of inquiry that influence ways of thinking and actions, integrate learning from a variety of disciplines, routinely engage in habits of inquiry such as logic and critical thinking, and engage one or more natural and applied sciences disciplines to influence the ways of thinking and acting. So my first section that I'd like to talk about is my psychology class. I found that the traits that we possess are all tied to psychology, and I found that one can become more mindful and make critical decisions based on these. Psychology is often an overlooked area of study, and I found that it is one of the most important and vital fields to better ourselves. By utilizing the information I have learned in this class, I found that I can become a better person and help others that maybe cannot get help for themselves. I feel that this was just the becoming, and I will discover how I can better myself through my actions and the reflective individual trait. So to tie this back to my topic, I found that people will tend to foster a negative idea more than they will a positive idea. Just like in vaccines, if they've heard something or see something on the news that may be false, they tend to stick to that and use that as an excuse not to get a vaccine, which in many cases that's not the correct information and they're just being misled. So I believe that this can help me understand and help educate others on the importance of vaccinations and how important they are to our health as a whole world and a nation, especially during the pandemic. So my second example of my reflective individual has to deal with my career starting in MRI. So one of the big challenges with being in MRI is you have to screen a patient prior to getting into the room. So that can eliminate some helpful tools such as an online translator or an in-person translator in some cases. If they have an implanted device in their body, they cannot enter the room. So one time I was doing an exam on a patient who was deaf, and I knew that I would need to critically think throughout the situation and figure out how I can make the exam adequate for her. So what I decided to do is I decided to enter the room in front of her after screening her and show her, kind of the exam and how I wanted her to do it. By demonstrating it, showing, the different parts of the exam, whether it's putting the headphones on or, holding still. And thankfully our exam has an automated voice system, which is very helpful and people can hear it. But unfortunately, in her scenario, she couldn't hear it. So I found that going into the room, explaining to her, how much longer we have with the exam, helped her get through it better. Essentially, this ties back to my scenario because I found that the critical thinking skills that I utilized will help me consider other people's understandings and difficulties in understanding vaccinations and why they are so important to our society. My final area is my change agent. So, according to Nebraska Methodist College citizen goals, a person who demonstrates cultural competence, analyzes historic and contemporary situations, and takes initiative to effect change is a change agent, according to my Methodist Copyright 2014. This core value takes education, experience, and a lot of time to develop. So my first true experience that I had with this in my college career was reading a book called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I understood the book, but I didn't really understand it in depth until concluding the class. Essentially, the story follows a Black woman and how her cells were pretty much stolen from her at the time. And I never really understood that and the importance of contracts and various implementations we have in medicine today. And unfortunately, Henrietta and her family suffered so many losses because of this, and her contributions to society are forever appreciated, but no one cannot truly understand the difficulties she went through. This will allow me to become more mindful of people today and how everyone should be treated. Which ties back again to my vaccination hesitancy topic, because even though some people won't get a vaccine and they can't be convinced otherwise, it's important to understand why they want that and why they believe that, whether it's, religion or just our morals, or sometimes if they just don't want to get one. It's just really important to understand and respect their decisions. But I feel that it was a good example to place here. My next area is my change agent section 2. So for this, I pretty much used the COVID pandemic and my experience through it, because I felt like it was a perfect example as developing my change agent personality occurred a lot over this time. So essentially, the coronavirus pandemic really started affecting me in early 2020. My favorite stores were closed. I was furloughed from work. School was canceled, and I really had no idea what the future had in store for me. So I decided to return back home, and I stayed there until school kind of started to pick back up later in the summer. So I developed many skills, change agent skills through that. I also developed many more during just my education at Nebraska Methodist College prior to the pandemic. I was able to utilize historical situations, cultural competence, and introduce change into myself, most of which was not planned, and I navigated my way through the pandemic. I feel like that this experience is not unique to me. Everyone had to adapt and develop their change agent skills through this, and I'm very proud of my classmates and the college for doing such a good job of accommodating. And I feel that this was probably the best tie back to my change agent topic, because in my vaccine hesitancy portfolio portion, because it has everything to do with vaccinations. As we know, people can make a decision right now if they want to get the vaccine or not. And it is so important that people understand the reason why we need the vaccines is the lives that have been changed because of the pandemic, and how the vaccine can help change the course of that. So in conclusion, throughout my education at Nebraska Methodist College, I've developed my educational citizen skills immensely. I found that through bad situations or difficult situations, it is still possible to prevail and come out in a better situation. Whether it is by getting vaccinated or being able to help a less fortunate person in need, I will continue far after my formal education at the college to strive and develop and engage in habits of an educated citizen. Thank you all for listening and bearing with me. I hope you enjoyed. Following this, you'll see my references for the presentation. All right, thank you.